What would you do if everyone in the room looked at you like you didn't belong? Not with anger, not with words, just with eyes that said, "You're in the wrong place." That's exactly what Maya felt the first day she walked into her HVAC training class. A young mother, barely scraping by, sitting in a room full of men who barely looked up when she entered. She almost turned around and walked out. Almost, because something inside her, small, stubborn, quiet, wouldn't let her go. This is her story, a story about a woman who had every reason to quit and one reason to keep going. And that one reason changed everything. If stories like this speak to something deep inside you, follow along. There are more gentle tales here that remind you of what you're truly made of. Maya was 28 years old, and she was exhausted in the way only a single mother can be. Her daughter, Lily, was 6, bright, curious, full of questions Maya didn't always have answers to, like, "Mommy, why do we eat cereal for dinner again?" Maya worked the morning shift at a grocery store and the evening shift at a laundromat. She came home smelling like bleach and bread, her feet aching, her mind already calculating rent, daycare, the electric bill. She had no savings. She had no safety net. What she did have was a flyer. Crumpled in her pocket, picked up at the community center weeks ago. It read, "Free HVAC certification program, 9 months, financial aid available." Her mother had scoffed when Maya showed her. "HVAC? That's a man's job, mija. What do you know about pipes and wires?" Maya hadn't answered. She'd folded the flyer back up and slipped it into her jacket. But that night, after Lily was asleep, she sat at the kitchen table, the one with the wobbly leg, and stared at that flyer for a long time. She thought about Lily. She thought about cereal dinners. She thought about the woman she was slowly becoming versus the woman she had promised herself she would be. And she signed up. The first week of class was the hardest. Not because of the material, though learning about refrigerants, pressure gauges, and electrical circuits while running on 4 hours of sleep was its own kind of test. It was the feeling. The way her classmates, most of them men in their 20s and 30s, didn't say anything mean. They just didn't include her. Group conversations happened without her. Study groups formed, and her name wasn't mentioned. One afternoon, the instructor demonstrated how to solder a copper pipe. When Maya's turn came, her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from exhaustion. She hadn't slept the night before. Lily had an ear infection, and they'd spent hours in the emergency room. A guy behind her muttered something under his breath. She didn't catch all of it, just enough. She won't last. Maya placed the torch to the pipe. She held steady. She soldered it clean. She didn't look back. But that night, sitting on the bathroom floor so she wouldn't wake Lily, Maya cried. Not because of the boy's words, but because she was so tired of having to prove that she had a right to be somewhere. She called her mother. Her mother's voice was careful, measured. "You could still get your hours back at the store, mija. No shame in coming home." Maya closed her eyes. She thought about Lily's laugh. She thought about the pipe she had soldered clean. "I'm not coming home, Mama. Not yet." 4 months into the program, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic. There were no trumpets, no sudden revelation. It happened on a Tuesday, during lab hours, when a classmate named Derek, one of the guys who'd never spoken to her, broke a fitting trying to force it. He stared at it, frustrated. Maya watched for a moment. Then, quietly, she said, "You've got to let the pressure equalize first. Otherwise, it'll always fight you." Derek looked at her, blinked, then handed her the fitting. She showed him. He watched. It clicked. "Huh," he said. "How'd you know that?" "I've been studying," she said simply. He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I can tell." That was it. That was the whole conversation. But something in the room changed that day. Slowly, week by week, the invisible wall thinned. A nod here, a question there. By month 7, Maya was the one the class came to when something didn't make sense. Not because she was the loudest, because she was the most prepared. And on the morning she passed her EPA Section 608 certification exam, the exam that officially made her a certified HVAC technician, she sat in her car for 10 minutes before going inside to pick up Lily from school. She didn't cry this time. She just breathed. She looked at her own hands, the same hands that had trembled with exhaustion, that had soldered copper clean, that had turned pages at 2 a.m. while the little girl slept, and she thought, these hands built something. But the world doesn't stop just because you've earned something. Maya applied to 14 HVAC companies in her city. She got 2 interviews. The first company called her back to say they'd gone in another direction. The second company, she almost didn't go. The name in the job listing was followed by a row of male names in the staff photos on their website. She almost closed the browser. She went anyway. The hiring manager shook her hand, glanced briefly at her resume, and spent most of the interview asking if she had any support at home, a question she knew no male candidate had ever been asked. She smiled, answered professionally, and drove home knowing she wouldn't get the call. She didn't. For 6 weeks, Maya worked back at the laundromat while she kept applying. Lily asked why Mommy was sad. Maya told her she wasn't sad, she was thinking. And she was thinking. She kept hearing one phrase in her head, a thing her instructor had said casually one afternoon. The best technicians don't just fix what's broken, they make sure it never breaks again. She thought about her neighborhood, the apartments with broken AC units every summer, the families who couldn't afford service calls, the landlords who never fixed anything. She thought about the flyer. She thought about the fittings she'd taught Derek to connect. And then, slowly, terrifyingly, beautifully, an idea began to take shape. What if I stop asking someone to hire me, and I become the one who hires? She started small, incredibly small. Maya printed 20 flyers on the library printer, 10 cents each, and put them in the laundromats, barbershops, and corner stores in her neighborhood. Maya's Heating and Cooling. Honest work, fair prices. She'll actually show up. Her first call came 3 days later. An elderly woman named Mrs. Graves, whose bedroom had been too hot to sleep in all summer. Her landlord had stopped returning calls months ago. Maya showed up with her tools and her certification. She diagnosed the issue, a clogged condensate line and a failing capacitor. 2 hours of work. She charged $60. Mrs. Graves tried to give her more. Maya said no. Word spread the way it does in tight communities, through kitchens and church pews and front stoops. Her phone started ringing more, then more. By spring, she had hired her first helper, a young man from her old class, one who'd been struggling to find work, too. By summer, she had a van with her name on it, a second technician, a waiting list. Her mother called on a Wednesday evening. "Mija," she said, her voice different now, softer, slower. "I drove past a building today, and I saw your van parked outside." Maya waited. "It had your name on it," her mother said quietly. "I sat in my car for a long time." There was a pause. "I didn't think you could do it," her mother said. "I was wrong. I'm sorry." Maya felt something in her chest loosen, something she hadn't even realized had been held tight all these years. "It's okay, Mama," she said softly. "I almost didn't think I could either." Maya's story isn't a fairy tale. She still has hard months,
Tax season is stressful. A bad job can eat into her margin. Sometimes Lily still asks why Mommy looks worried. But there is a difference now between the worried of before and the worried of after. Before, she was worried she would never find solid ground. After, she knows the ground is there because she built it. And so today, before we close, there are a few things Maya's story quietly teaches us. The first, doubt from people who love you is not the same as the truth. Maya's mother doubted her. It came from fear, not cruelty. But Maya learned to separate the voice of fear from the voice of fact, and she moved forward anyway. The second, being excluded from a room is not the same as not belonging in it. The world will put you in spaces and then make you feel like a guest. You are not a guest. Earn your place quietly, competently, completely, and the room will eventually rearrange itself around you. The third, the gap between your certification and your career may be the most important stretch of your life. It is the place where most people give up. It is also the place where the most creative solutions are born. Maya didn't find a door, she built one. And the fourth, the people who doubted you are not your enemies. Sometimes when they come around, they become your greatest witnesses. And that moment of reconciliation, small and quiet as it may be, can heal something that years of success alone cannot. Maya still works in the neighborhood where she grew up. She still drives the van herself some days. And on the days when a new young woman calls her, uncertain, nervous, asking if this career is really possible for someone like her, Maya always says the same thing. I don't know what's possible for you, but I know what became possible for me when I stopped asking for permission. If this story moved something in you, if you felt Maya's exhaustion, her doubt, her quiet, stubborn refusal to stop, then you already know what this story is really about. It is not about HVAC. It is not about certificates or vans or businesses. It is about the moment you decide that the version of you that gives up is not the version that gets to win. That moment is available to you, right now, today. If you'd like more stories like this one, stories of real struggle, real turns, real light at the end, please follow this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it.
And if you're in the middle of your own hard chapter right now, please hold on. Your van with your name on it is still ahead. Stay well, stay steady, and keep going.